couple of hours now, just feeling down and sad and discouraged. And I spoke to the doctor this morning, and he's doing well and stuff, but they're still trying to figure out why his spleen and his liver are still big. They're not really shrinking. They're not getting bigger. They're just not shrinking the way they should be. So they kind of want to eliminate the idea that maybe the leukemia is like coming back. So they don't really think it's that. They just want to eliminate it. But just the fact to hear that was like a complete shock. So it's a lot harder than we thought it would be. We are ending our 7th week here, and Christmas is right around the corner. Kylo's birthday was yesterday. We were here yesterday. We were hoping to be home. We could be here for Christmas, so it's just a lot to take in. Hi guys, so a lot has happened in the past few weeks. Like you just saw, I was completely discouraged around his birthday. We ended up spending his birthday at the hospital. We also spent Christmas there. We're still there, but everything is slowly getting better, but lots of ups and downs in the past few weeks. So basically, like I just said before, the problem that the doctors wanted to keep an eye on was the enlarged spleen and enlarged liver. So basically the liver, he had one of the side effects to the transplant, that's a VOD. He had that, and so they were thinking maybe it's that. Then at one point they mentioned are like the leukemia cells coming back, so like we were completely worried, completely discouraged. But they ran many tests and everything, and we got confirmation that the transplant was a success, thank God. They weren't quite sure what was going on with the spleen and the liver, but thankfully that was resolved. So after that, basically what happened was around December 17th, he had his Broviac removed. So that's like the central line that he had on his chest. They weren't really needing it anymore since the transplant was a success, and we knew he didn't need any more like chemo or anything like that. They could just use the PICC line on his arm. So he had that removed, and then things started to go downhill from there. So basically, that afternoon when he came back to his room, the next day he started vomiting. And at that point, we thought, okay, maybe it was the anesthesia. Maybe, he's just feeling nauseous from the anesthesia. And then it just started getting worse and worse. And he was vomiting and had diarrhea all the time. So basically, everything he would drink was coming out. So we were really worried, and at a certain point the GI doctors came to see him, and they said, you know what, he's been on the steroids for a while because of the GVH he had on his skin. So they thought it was basically these steroids irritating his stomach, and it was a gastritis. So okay, so they think it's that. So we were dealing with that, but he was vomiting and had diarrhea really, really bad. And we reached 2 weeks like of that, and I went, okay, there's something wrong. I don't think it's this. Like he's not getting better. Sometimes he has like a few moments like in the day where he's a bit better, but it was not getting better at all. So we asked, like, can you guys do the endoscopy? Because they had spoken of doing it in the beginning when he had started vomiting and all of that, but they said, you know what, no, we're pretty sure it's the gastritis. We don't want to like do that because it comes with risks, obviously. So I'm like, maybe we should do it, maybe it's time to really go see what's going on inside. So they did that on January 4th. So on January 4th, they did the endoscopy. So that's when they put a little camera down your throat, and it goes all the way down in the stomach and the intestines and all that. He was on a general anesthesia, so he didn't feel anything. And they also go get like a little biopsy if they see anything. And so I went downstairs with him, and I was waiting. And when the doctor came out, the one that did it, she said, she said it was really worth going to check in there because she said in French, c'est très malade à l'intérieur. Like, it's pretty bad. So like I freaked out. She showed me the pictures. She goes, are you comfortable looking at the pictures? And I'm not a doctor, but it was clear that it was bad. So there were all like a bunch of lesions on in the inside of his stomach, lesions and ulcers in his intestines. So I was like, oh my God, so what is it? So she said it looked a lot. At that point, they were suspecting the GVH, but in his stomach and intestines. So that's another complication after transplant. Basically, what he had on the skin, a bit of what he had on the skin, it was happening inside. So they were suspecting that. And she said, I'm pretty sure, but we have to wait for the results of the biopsy. And they started treating it as a GVH right away. So that was full dose of steroids IV, and there was also a second line medication that they were giving. I think the first few days they gave it like 2-3 times, and then it was like once a week. So for those of you who don't know, GVH is graft versus host disease. So basically it is when the new cells, the donor cells in the body, recognize that it's not their body and they start attacking the new body. So the donor cells were attacking Kylo's gut, intestines and all that. They had attacked his skin before, but now they were attacking the insides. So these are things that could happen. And, like I said before, all of the possible side effects and complications that, you could have during or after transplant, he got them all. So they started treatment right away. They started treating it because the biopsy, we could not get the results super quick. They asked it to be urgent, but I think the final results came in like a week later, if I'm not mistaken. And right away, as soon as they started that, we saw a huge improvement. They changed the milk we were giving him, and they gave him a milk that the protein was more digested, broken up so that he could digest it better. If I'm not mistaken, that's the way they explained it. So yeah, he was feeling so much better. He wasn't vomiting anymore. Like sometimes he would vomit once a day, and the stools went down. Like he was having about 16 stools a day. So just to give you an example. And so huge improvement. These steroids really, really helped. And then like we waited a few weeks for it to like calm down and everything. And basically what was keeping us at the hospital, what's still keeping us at the hospital, is that he has his medications IV. So most of his medications were like IV at that point. They already transitioned some by mouth now, but now at the moment he's on 2 medications IV. So the steroids, they transferred by mouth last week for the second time, because the first time it was not working. So he was still not absorbing well. When you have graft versus host disease, you're not absorbing really well. You're not gaining much weight. He actually lost like over 1 kilo. So on a little baby that's been sick and that's had chemo, like he can't be losing all that weight. So they had tried to switch it by mouth once. It didn't work. He had started getting stools again. He wasn't absorbing the medication by mouth as much as the doctors wanted him to. So they switched it back IV. And last week, they switched it by mouth again. And we wanted to wait the whole week to see how he would react. And the week went very, very well. So we were so happy that he was fine. He only had like 2 stools a day. Like I think there were 2 days where he had 3 and 1 day where he had 1. And for them to consider that the GVH is resolved is that he has to have 4 stools or less. And they also like have to check the quantity of the stools as well. So he's now considered a stage 0 of GVH. So they consider that it's resolved. And now as of yesterday, they started to transfer his magnesium by mouth. Oh no, sorry. The goal this week is to transfer by mouth, but they're keeping his dose IV, but they're adding 2 by mouth. And slowly, when the magnesium level will go up, they'll remove some of the IV doses because he's getting 4 IV. So for those of you who don't know, basically when you're on a anti-rejection medication like he is after the transplant, so he's on that for a few months, he's on the Tacro. So the anti-rejection medication makes your magnesium levels go down. So they have to make sure that your Tacro levels at a certain point in your, like a certain level in your body, but as well the magnesium. So it's always a bit tricky with those 2 medications. So hopefully this week it will go well. Yesterday they added 2 doses by mouth, and already his level went up this morning, which is great. And magnesium also causes diarrhea, so that's why it's a bit tricky. And we really wanted to do one thing at a time to make sure that, we know what his body's reacting to. And so far, so good. So at the moment, he is still at the hospital. He's there with Daddy today. And this week, that's what the focus is. The focus is the magnesium, how he's tolerating the one by mouth. Are his levels coming up? Can we start removing some of the IVs? We will see how the week goes. Hopefully all goes well, because then he'll just have 1 medication left to get by mouth. So that is the update. Thank you, guys.